Welcome back. What you have seen in the preceding segment are testing formats for assessing the ability to recognize correct language forms or structures. This time, let's focus on production rather than simply recognition of forms. The most common item format used for this purpose is the completion type. When carefully constructed, completion items are quite useful in testing students' ability to produce acceptable and appropriate forms of language. The usual test directions go this way. Directions. Write the correct word or words in its blank. First, the old lady enjoys looking blank at her grandchildren playing. 2, I hope you're not angry, blank me. While it seems that completion items are easy to construct, you should be very careful in scoring them since it is possible for an item to accommodate more than one correct answer. Let me show you an example. Complete this sentence by writing the correct form of the verb inside the parentheses. He heard a loud noise as he blank to go. Notice that this item could be answered in several ways. Both was preparing and prepared are acceptable. Language teachers, therefore, should be cautious in this type of item. One strategy to avoid this problem of ambiguity is by using a passage or a continuous prose instead of isolated sentences. The students are provided with all the context clues in order to provide the missing words. Here is a format to illustrate the use of a passage as item stimulus. The text stimulus for these items is a passage that contains 8 blanks. The students will figure out what words have been omitted and they will indicate their answers on the blanks provided at the right. In testing grammar, this type of item, which is integrated in approach, is referred to using isolated sentences. Your TSM should provide you with more examples showing the use of prose passage as item stimulus for completion type of items. Aside from prose passage, completion of dialogues can also provide another alternative for testing the ability to manipulate language structures. Being able to supply the missing line in the dialogue depends a lot on the meaning students will make out of what is given. Here is an example. Supply the missing line in each dialogue. A, blank. B, immediately after I've finished doing my homework. Notice that before the students can produce the missing line, they will have to figure out first what the two characters or speakers could be conversing about. In this case, they may hypothesize that Speaker A could be asking Speaker B when he or she would do something. Thus, the test could focus on the ability to formulate questions for a given context. A possible and acceptable response here is, for A, when will you begin your rehearsal? Or, when do we go to the mall? Indeed, dialogues are very good materials not only for eliciting correct forms, but in contextualizing the use of language structures. The dialogue may even be an elaborated discourse of two speakers instead of isolated lines of different speakers. The students are asked to supply half of the conversation. Observe the format that will be shown to you. Notice that all the lines of Ella will have to be supplied by the students. This type of test may be done using oral or written responses, and it is especially useful for testing question formation, especially interrogative pronouns, adjectives, or adverbs. Another technique in making students produce the target elements of a language is through the use of transformation items. Transformation items, like the other types earlier presented, can also be based on actual errors made by students. This type requires the students to rewrite a given sentence without changing its meaning. Usually, the beginning of the sentence is given to serve as prompt. Observe these examples. Directions. Rewrite the following sentences in another way, beginning the new sentence with the words given. Do not change the meaning of the sentence. Number 1. In fine weather, I often go for a walk. When the weather blank. Number 2. The old lady likes to look at her grandchildren playing. The old lady enjoys blank. The items, as you can see, can easily elicit structures from the students. There are times when you can ask the students to change the sentence using selected words. Here is an example. The original sentence is, you are advised to check your answers carefully after each question. And advisable is the word to be used. The expected response here is, it is advisable that you check your answers carefully after each question. Again, be careful in checking these items, as more than one answer may be acceptable. For example, the item, I feel miserable even though I shouldn't, can be written in several ways, like, I know I shouldn't feel miserable, but I do. Or, I know I shouldn't feel miserable, but I certainly don't feel happy. There are several other testing techniques to solicit language forms from the students. Your TSM will be of great help to you. Study very well the other test formats for testing students' ability to produce well-formed sentences. Meanwhile, let's pause for a few reminders, and when I come back, you'll see how we can prepare communicative test of grammar. Don't go away.